Yeah, I do stutter. I actually come from a long line of disabilities because I stutter. My father was blind, and my mother and brother are Alabama fans. It's been a rough go from the get-go, I tell you. Do we actually have Alabama fans in here? Security, Derek, get him. Derek, you guys may not know this. I like Derek from the get-go, but when I found out he married an Auburn girl, War Eagle, man, that's what I'm talking about. Oh man, yeah, and we're talking about how obnoxious Alabama fans can be because they can't help it. They just are. Like my brother, he's one of those guys that's just got the Alabama flags and tags and stickers just all over his car. And I've got one sticker on mine for Auburn. It says alumni. He doesn't have one of those. and my father, he really was blind. He was a diabetic, and he lost his eyesight when he was 28 years old. And mom and daddy got a divorce, and he moved to Montgomery. And I would go down there to see my daddy, and my brother's 2 years older than I am. He graduated high school with Mike Newman back there, and 2 years older than I am. So he had started back school already, and Mama sent me to Montgomery to spend a couple of weeks with my daddy, who he was blind, but he was also an Alabama fan too, so he was in bad shape. But I was down there coinciding with the time it happened to be his birthday. And Mama gave me $20 to buy my blind Alabama daddy a birthday present. So I went to the TG&Y on Atlanta Highway in Montgomery, Alabama, and I bought my dad this awesome Auburn sweatshirt. I told him how much he'd pay me to buy that shirt. He walked around for about 3 weeks saying, "Roll Tide, look at the shirt my boy done got me." It was rough, I tell you. I wouldn't change anything though. I wouldn't change anything. Born in 1972, Auburn had a guy named Pat Sullivan win the Heisman Trophy in 1971. 72, Auburn beat Alabama in a game known as Punt-Bama Punt. I was 6 months old, and we didn't win again for 9 years, so we had another stuttering guy at Auburn named Bo Jackson. So, but between Pat Sullivan and Bo Jackson, my dream in life was to grow up and be a quarterback at Auburn University. I'm like, that's what I'm going to do. I'm going to be quarterback, War Eagle. I'm going to do all this great stuff, and it's going to be awesome. That was my dream in life, to be a quarterback at Auburn University. And I was actually the starting quarterback for my Opelika junior high school football team. And I'll never forget one game we were down by 5. Had all 3 timeouts left, 1 minute left in the game. And I dropped that pass, and I hit my best friend Adrian over the middle for a 9-yard gain. I run into the referee, and I said, time out. He charged me with all 3 timeouts. I never got to play again. Coaches always frown upon delay a game anyway. But you always got to look at everything from a positive point of view. Like, like we're blessed, or whatever you want to say, with different things, and you just got to take it and run with it, because that's what the good Lord gave you. And so you always have to find the positive in everything. For example, several years ago, I had a young lady over at my house, and I was making her a mixed drink. And I had never made a mixed drink like so. I had no idea how to make this mixed drink. It was one of those with cranberry juice and vodka. I said, well how much vodka do I pour? She said, it's real easy. Just start pouring and count to 2, Mississippi. You gotta find the positive in everything. That's what you gotta do, because it's always there. You just gotta look for it. Now, I was talking about one of my friends earlier, talking about a friend of mine named Major, and I always like to tell this story before I get started, because people, when they hear people talk, a lot of times we want to judge him. They think, well, he may not be all that intelligent because the way he talks. They say stuff like roll tide, judge him, it's fine. All right? but everybody says dumb things. You got to listen. It's so important to listen to people. Number one, it's just a polite and courteous thing to do. Number two, you may learn something. With 22 years in the military, I've learned from privates and I've learned from generals. And number three, like I said, they may say something dumb. I was riding down the road not too long ago with Adrian, my best friend, and I'm over there on my phone playing on my Twitter, at Jody Fuller. Shameless plug. I'm over there playing on my Twitter, and we come up to a traffic light, and he said, Jody, do you think they drove all the way up here from Ecuador? I said, do what? He said, that car tag in front of us, they're from Ecuador. And I leaned forward. I said, dude, that says educator. Listen to people, y'all. Listen to people. Listen to them. Growing up, like I said, I thought I was going to be a quarterback. That didn't work. I didn't know what I was going to do. Then I was about 16 years old. I started working at Kroger, and I worked at Kroger for 3.5 years. Then I went to the Army for 4 years. Then I came back out and I worked at Kroger for 5.5 more years while I was in college. So I worked at Kroger for a long time, and I learned a lot about life, just dealing with people from all different walks of life. I was 16 years old working there, and it's hard because dealing with the public, you got to do that every day. It can be hard, but it's rewarding at the same time, but it's always important to listen. Now, I worked over at the drugstore portion. And like here's the cash register, and we had a counter, and we had to keep a lot of stuff behind the counter because I had a habit of walking out of the doors. So had to keep perfume and cologne and all kinds of stuff back there. So I'm down there one day and I'm running the cash register, and there's a lady down at the end of the counter, and she's down there spraying every kind of cologne and perfume she could find. She got a big mist above her head, but she tried it all. And I come down there, I said, "Man, can I help you?" She said, "Yes, sir. I'm looking for some perfume that I saw last week, but now I can't find it." I said, "Well, okay. Do you know what it was called?" She said, "Yes, sir. It was called Tester." The red bottle, the green bottle, People had this other lady called, because we had to keep the tapes and stuff back there, the tapes and batteries, all kinds of stuff. So a lady comes in there one day. She said, let me get a packet of your blank tapes. I said, okay. Do you need audio or video? She said, just give me the cheapest ones you got. So I did. Had this other guy come in there one time. Like I said, it's so important to listen to people. So I'm going to test y'all right now. Listen to people. So this guy comes in there, and he's coughing and sneezing, ears stopped up, just in bad shape. And he said the two biggest things that he had going on for him is that, number one, he couldn't sleep, so something that helped him sleep. And number two, he only had $2 to his name. So I showed him Kroger's version of NyQuil called Nighttime. And that's key, it's called Nighttime. And I give it to him, and it was $1.79 plus tax. So we were halfway there. And he looked at it, he immediately started shaking his head. I said, "What's wrong?" He said, "Man, I can't take this." I said, "Why not?" He said, "Man, I work third shift." It's called nighttime. I thought it only worked at night. One cold December night, this lady comes in there and says, "Young man," I said, "Yes, ma'am." She said, where she stuttered too. She said, "Where are your ointments?" So I took her back and I showed her the salves, the cream, the liniment. She said, "No, silly, your Christmas ointments." I'm down there running the cash register again. This time there's a gentleman down at the end of the counter. And I prefaced this story by telling a true story. I was in school at Auburn University at Montgomery. And I was in school down there. I went up to the McDonald's on Taylor Road. And my favorite thing in the world to get from McDonald's is a fish sandwich. Now, I can stand right here in front of all you beautiful people tonight, and I can say fish sandwich, fish sandwich, fish sandwich, fish sandwich, fish sandwich. But you put me at that drive-thru window, and there's going to be a line. I have trouble with F words and S words more than anything else. True story, really good. So I'm at that drive-thru window, and the lady's like, she's like, "Can I take your order?" And I said, "Yes, ma'am, let me order a." She said, "Excuse me?" I said, "Yes, ma'am, let me order one." She said, "You're going to have to repeat that like I'm trying." I said, "Yes, ma'am, let me order one chicken sandwich." Please hold the mayo. You think they miss a few orders? I get like 6 orders of fries. I didn't order 6 orders of fries. She said, "Right here on your seat, fry, 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 fry." So I'm at Kroger and I'm running the cash register, and there's a gentleman down at the end of the counter, and he's down there and he's stretching out across that counter as far as he can, just trying to touch. He's almost touching. He said, "Let me get a bottle of your old Pice." I said, "Do what?" He said, "Let me get a bottle of your old Pice right there in the red bottle." I said, "Oh, Old Spice." He said, "Yeah, I have trouble with my S words." I'm like, "I do too, brother, I got you." So I reach back there and I give him the only thing of Old Spice cologne that we had. And he looks at it and says, "This is the Pre-On. Do you have the Flash on?" He said, "This is the Pre-On. You had to flash them, and I like to flash it on my kin." I'm like, "And they don't mind?" So I said, "No, sir, no, sir. All I got is Pre-On." He said, "Well, do you have the Old Pice deodorant?" I said, "Yes, sir. It's on the back wall. Let's go." So I went all the way to the back wall of Kroger, and I picked up the only thing of Old Spice deodorant that we had. And as sure as I'm standing here tonight, he looks at it and says, "This is the tip. Do you have a roll?" I said, "No, sir. All I got is tip." And he said, "Well, I don't want a tick. I'll tick gets cut to your hair." And it does get tough, you know? It gets tough. Jerry, you been in them locker rooms, you see where they tug on in? He took about 2 steps over, reached on the top shelf, and grabbed a little jar of Tussie and went to the house. You gotta be old school to know what Tussie is. Had all kind of cats, all kind of characters come in there though. Said I was at the the drugstore, and there was a wall going over to the big Kroger, but when I started working about halfway through, they knocked a hole in the wall where you could go over into the grocery store part. So this guy comes in there one time, he said, "Jody, where are your plums?" So I went over there and I stood at the hole in the wall and I pointed over against the far wall. I said, "About halfway down over there, you're going to see the plums over there." And he goes over and he's just walking up and down the aisle, and he's all over him. I mean, he's just all over him. I get somebody to watch my cash register. I said, "Watch this, let me go help this guy." It's all about customer service, all about helping people. So I'm over there. I said, dude, the plums are right here. He said, "No, man, I'm not talking about them kind of plums. I'm talking about what you plumb your toilet with." And yes, he actually spent 10 minutes looking amongst the cucumbers and squash. You want to see that stick poking up, dude? All kind of folks coming. Had this guy come in there one time, and this guy was a big old ugly looking dude. I mean, like 6'5", 300 pounds, covered in tattoos, big old beard, just a rough Alabama hat. And I say it's so important. It's so important, listen, because number one, it's just polite, courteous thing to do. Number two, you may learn something. Number three, they may say something funny, but number four, it can prevent you from getting your hind end whooped, right? So this guy comes in there, big old Kevin. He looked a lot like you, man. Big rough looking guy, man. And thank God, thank the good Lord above, before I got out a single solitary word, I listened. And he asked me, this is him now. He said, where do you keep your Q-tips? So I said, saying a word. I was listening. You gotta listen to me. Listening. People, it doesn't matter where you are. We have in the Army. I've served since '92. Best decision I ever made in my life. I still serve. I'm a major in the Army Reserve now. Deployed to Iraq 3 times. It's wonderful. And I set that up because I always have to ask. It doesn't matter if we have 1 or 5 or 10 or if I got 20 people or 1,000 people in the crowd. If we have any veterans, will y'all please stand to be recognized by your peers? I appreciate y'all. Now, sir, did you fight for the North or South? Pittsburgh was tough, wasn't it? Rough winter. But we have people in the Army, some people, they say dumb things, you just got to listen to what they say. When I was enlisted, I was a medic. And I was stationed in Germany for 2 years at law school. Then I was stationed at Fort Sill, Oklahoma for a couple of years. And I was a medic. And as a medic, they call you Doc. And one day we were at Fort Sill and I cut my finger and a little blood started to trickle out. I did what every red-blooded American male does when he cuts his finger. What did I do? Well, that's right. But it's like it happened in slow motion. It was coming, my finger was coming right towards my mouth. And out of nowhere, a hand grabs my wrist and says, "Doc, don't do that. You can get AIDS." I'm trying to go to war with this guy. I was at Fort Sill in 95 and 96, and that's before everybody had cell phones. You had some people have them, but not a lot of people had. And we were out one night doing night land navigation. You military people know what that is, but if you don't know what it means, they put you in the middle of the woods, middle of the night, you're trying to find your points, and it's hard to find. All you have is a compass and a map, and you're trying to find your points. It can be hard to do. And there's always a couple of people who get lost, or always going to get lost. So at that time, we made sure that we gave them the little handheld Motorola so we could find them when they got lost. And it was going to happen. And sure enough, it was about 1:30 in the morning. I'm the squad leader at the time. And we got everybody back except for this one guy. And luckily, we knew to give him a handheld Motorola. And it's about 1:30, can't get him. About 2 o'clock, finally get him within range, and we're talking. I'm like, dude, where are you at? He said, I don't know. And I said, well, look around. Do you see anything? You see any like trees, any hilltops? Did you cross any roads, any water or anything? Anything? Did you see any lights, anything? He said, hold on one second. And I'm not sure he did because he was on the other side already. But it had to be something like, he looked to his right, he looked to his left, and he looked up. Because he got back on the radio and said, hey. I said, what's up? He said, do you see the moon? I said, yeah. He said, I'm right underneath it. So there are some dumb folks out there. You got to listen to what they say. Now, got to talk a little bit more about the stuttering, because I got to let you know that it is never my intent to make fun of stuttering or anything else except Alabama fans. You know, you can't have that. But it's my goal to help bring awareness to stuttering through humor. I'm actually a very active member of the National Stuttering Association. Every year we have a huge conference. It's 4 days. For EA group, probably 2 days. But it's always a good time. There's some things that you may not know about stuttering. And one of those things is that 4 out of 5 people who stutter are guys. So what that means, if you're a dude going to the National Stuttering Convention, you better bring your A game. Like, how you doing? My name's Ric Flair. And there's some of the greatest people throughout history. Some really great people have had speech impediments, have stuttered. People like Moses stuttered. People like Moses, Winston Churchill, James Earl Jones, one of the greatest, most iconic voices of the last 40 years. He stuttered. He stuttered throughout his entire childhood. And you know, he's the voice of Darth Vader. Could you imagine had he not been able to overcome his stutter? It probably would have been a different movie all the way around. Could have been like, Luke, I am your Luke, I am your Luke, what I'm trying to say is I am your mama's baby's daddy. Different movie across the board. I said, you have to find the positive point in everything. Everything. Just a few months ago, I had a knock on my door at the crack of noon. I didn't like that, and I opened up the door, and there was a lady out there. She was a Jehovah's Witness, you know, anybody, that's fine, but knock on my door, open up the door. She starts reading her Watchtower stuff to me, and I said, ma'am, hold on one second. And I went over to my Bible on my bookshelf, and I brought it back to the door, and I started reading. I said, in the beginning, they said, Mr. Fuller, we won't be bothering you anymore. They added me to the do not knock list. I was flying out to Las Vegas last year, and one of the things for people who stutter they really hate the most is when somebody finishes their sentence for me. Me personally, usually I don't mind. It doesn't usually bother me. But this lady was kind of getting on my nerves a little bit. So she was asking me, she said, so where are you staying? And I told her, I'm staying at she said, MGM? I said, no ma'am, I'm not. I said, I am staying at the she said, Mirage? I said, no ma'am, I'm not. I said, I'm staying at the she said, Monte Carlo? I'm like, lady, this ain't named that tune, you don't win nothing. So I'm staying at Mandalay Bay. But I graduated college, I wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and 9/11 happened, and I decided to go back into the Army, and I applied for officer candidate school, and I got accepted, and I went to OCS at Fort Benning, Georgia, and the best thing ever happened to me. And I was stationed at Fort Lewis, Washington, and then I went to Iraq the first time, and this was in 03, 04, the beginning of the war pretty much. And it was hard. We had our good days and bad days. I tell you, when we got care packages from people back home, it really made all the difference in the world. We had some tough times, and it was always hard early on to get stuff replaced because the mail took so long to get there. PX would always run out of things if you even had a PX. And it gets really hot over there, about 128 degrees on a cool day in the summer, you know, so really hot. And one of the things that you would do to help with the sweat and everything, help mitigate all that, is that you get foot powder, baby powder, and just put it on your whole body to help absorb the moisture. It just made for a better day. But we used to run out of stuff all the time. Well, we ran out of baby powder. I didn't have any. I didn't know what to do. Luckily, my awesome Southern grandmother had sent me a care package about a month prior. And there was something in that package, I'm like, why did she send me this? But it all came full circle and made sense when I looked in that care package and I realized that I may not have any baby powder, but Grandma had sent me a 5-pound bag of self-rising flour. So I'm an adapt and overcome kind of guy. I like to make it happen, you know. And that's what I did. I got that dadgum self-rising flour, and I started putting every nook and cranny I could find on my body, and I was good to go. Life was good, but we wound up having to go on an emergency convoy that day. And that was fine. It was really hot. And I had to drink water the whole 128 degrees. In the vehicle about 180, 190. So I'm drinking water the whole way, just trying to stay hydrated, stay good to go. And we're on about a 4-hour convoy. And by the time I get to where we're going, I got to go. So I open up the door to my Humvee. I run over to that porta potty as fast as I can. I unbutton my britches and a biscuit rolled out. But absolutely, it really does make all the difference. As those individuals that stood up earlier, it does make a difference knowing that people are back home and they're thinking about you when you're off who knows where. And I want to wrap this up. Scotty said go about a half hour, 40 minutes or so, which is easy for me because I only had to prepare about 15 minutes worth of material. But I got some letters, and these are just verbatim, exactly the way they came. Didn't change them up at all. And I want to share these with you guys. And some are funny, some are sweet, some of these are like, what? Because, you know, they're kids, or they may be freshmen to University of Alabama, I'm not sure. Either way, it's okay. All right. So here's one from a young lady named Margaret. And Margaret says, I hope you have good luck when you fight. I don't have any brothers or sisters, so I don't have anything to fight about. If life were so simple, and it really should be, you know. Now here's Cody, a very inquisitive young man. And Cody asks, do you have any kids? What do you eat? Are you a man or a woman? What do you rank? Do you play football? Do you sleep in a tent? Does anyone have a Porsche? here's Adrian, a very optimistic young man, who says, "We are so glad we have such a good army. I hope we win the war in Iraq. If we don't, it's okay, because I know we will win the next war." I love the optimism today. Any of you guys that stood up, any of you guys serve in the Air Force?
Yes.
That's kind of like the military. I tell everybody, though, it's just the inner service little jab. Air Force, it's kind of like how the guys my age used to make fun of the Backstreet Boys and NSYNC. We laugh at you, but ain't one of us who wouldn't trade places would if we could, So one day somebody's going to help me. You may be, Robert, you may be the man, find it. This is from a young man named Corey. Corey says, "I'm in the 5th grade. If you're in the Air Force, do you know my second cousin, Bucko Jackson?" One day somebody's going to know Bucko. Now this is terrible, but if you play along, it will make sense in the long run, I promise. So Jeremy says, "Knock, knock." Who's there? Boo. Boo. Terrible, I know. Terrible. Why are you crying? This is terrible. It's kids. So Landon says, "What's up? How are you? My name's Landon Smith. I'm a boy." I hope you didn't think I was a girl. I read the back said, "Dude, my name's Jody." "Hi, Captain Fuller. My name's Brianna. What's yours?" Nikki says, "Knock, knock." Boo. Why are you crying? Oh, it's terrible. I know it's kids. "Dear Captain Fuller, you're the most kind man in the world to risk your life. For many, it's the ultimate sacrifice. You do the most for us, so we won't ever get attacked in the middle of English." "Thanks for serving in the military, and also Captain Fuller for fighting in Iraq. What type of gun are you using? Captain Fuller, did you fight in World War II?" And this is Callie. You can tell Callie's a little southern, sassy little girl. She says, "Well, I heard you were a comedian. Well, I have a crazy cat." That's all she wrote. Then Cody says, "In Science this week we're talking about the human body. And I hope your human body doesn't get shot, but I got homework to do." Thank you, Lord. I did not get shot. Then Seth says, "Knock, knock." Who's there? Boo. Boo. Why are you crying? Ha, 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 ha. I made that up. Maybe you can use it in your show one day. Seth needs to learn something about integrity, huh? He needs to learn about integrity. And the last one. This is why we do what we do in the military. You guys, ladies and gentlemen, every day you get up, you need to figure out why it is you do what you do. Because we all have our reasons. And this is one from a young man named Trey. And he says, "Another reason I like to thank you is because you are serving the nation. Without people like you who serve, our country would be bad." And that's why we do what we do. But each and every one of you guys, and ladies, and gentlemen, all of you, and Keith, all of you guys, you do what you do to help make this country better by making people's lives better, even when they don't know what you taught them, and you tell them how much better you can make your life. Now, I also want to end on one last quick funny story, because people always ask about the stutter, and they're like, what causes it? Where does it come from? And it's still one of the great unknowns. And I tell you, for me, I think it goes back to Christmas in 1977. 1977 is when Star Wars hit the movie theaters, and I wanted one thing and one thing only that year, but we were poor and we couldn't afford it. But I wanted one thing and one thing only, and that was one of them Chewbacca dolls that was about that big. You remember them Chewbacca dolls? Yep. Had a string on the back. Remember those? All I wanted was a Chewbacca doll. That's all I wanted was a Chewbacca doll, but we couldn't afford it. We couldn't afford it. But luckily, my Uncle Kerwood was a taxidermist. And I woke up Christmas morning 1977 with a 13-inch wolf rat laying on my chest. And I'm pretty sure that's where the story came from. Hey, thanks for having me, guys. I appreciate it so much. Thank you. Thank you.